All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is a stream that's going to be on the Stop Killing Games initiative, which is so close to passing. Just look at this. So it's kind of crazy, honestly. I mean, I just want to briefly talk about this before we get into stuff, because there are a few videos on the topic I think could be really interesting. The main thing that's always been on my mind, the main question is, how much would this cost for game developers and so on? Like, these sorts of questions I think are important. I mean, everyone who really cares about the topic thinks these questions are important, in my opinion. They can't be brushed aside. There are some arguments that can be brushed aside that have been made over time, but there's also some that I think are worth considering and talking about. Louis Rossmann being someone who's going to talk about this as well, and I'd like to watch some videos on the topic, some if I can. But just looking at it, it's crazy. It's crazy how close this is to passing, because even with those questions in mind, those are things that do need to be considered and talked about and discussed and so on legislatively, and also as a community, a better understanding is a fantastic thing, especially if you're going to be supporting something. But still, like, there's a clear sort of issue. There's a clear sort of issue that Stop Killing Games is attacking or going against, with companies being able to pull service for games that you've already paid for. Companies being able to change and update and adjust in such a way that you don't want the game that you've been provided, essentially, because you paid for it. You already paid for it. Like, that's kind of the kicker. So it is very exciting. It just is very exciting to see this happening. It's also kind of crazy. This is a screenshot from yesterday, and yesterday I was shocked, honestly. To a certain extent, I was shocked because it had only been maybe less than a week since we were at 60-something%, which the 60-something% was a huge, like, okay, maybe this could kind of swing somewhere. But of course, 60-something% is a large distance away from 80-something. So it was at 49% when I made my video, I believe, on Borderlands 2, which is only 2-3 weeks ago, something like that, maybe a month ago, something like that. Not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, really. And then it shot up from that 49% up to 60-something, like a week ago around, when I want to say when Moist Critical started covering it. And then I think it shot from there up to like 83% with more and more people kind of talking about like a general kind of population, along with, I think, PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye. And it was like, okay, this is really good. Maybe one more solid push. And as of today, look at this. 99% of the way there. It's very, very close. Okay, just wanted to kind of gush about that initially. I also, of course, though, do want to talk about and look at some of these videos. There's so much been coming out lately on the topic, so it's nice to see it. I think 10 months ago when I was talking about this topic, there were a lot of videos, I would say, but most of them were from small channels who were just kind of putting something out there just to have a voice and to chime in and talk about what they thought was wrong about either Pirate Software's coverage or what they thought was maybe right about the initiative. But it really was mostly about Pirate Software. I think even when talking about Pirate Software, that's totally fine. Fair enough. It's still nice to see people actually address like the arguments and not just be mad about someone who's in game dev having a voice that they disagree with on this, right? Like the actual points that he's making are pretty important to address. So I think both Quintio here has a really cool video, which should be with a developer chatting with them, but also Louis Rossmann, I believe, is going to have a software developer, software engineer on and chat with them about it and really get into the weeds. Because even at the time, I remember there's a quote I would use from Pirate Software back at the time, Pirate Software being the main opposition to Stop Killing Games, especially at the time, and probably still now. I would say there's not really ever been another big surge, although there were people who made arguments, but nothing quite like Pirate Software. But Pirate Software had essentially said that Ross wasn't worth talking to, the creator or the main contributor to Stop Killing Games, that he's not worth talking to, but that Asmongold and Louis Rossmann are. I think that's been amended to just Louis Rossmann, but, well, here you go, right? Here's Louis Rossmann talking about it. Could be an interesting video to go over. I might start with this one because I know there's some points in here that I find really interesting, and then we'll keep an eye on Stop Killing Games and try to see if we can catch the moment where it goes to a million. Now, here is the thing: as we go through this, see how I duplicate the tab here. We can take a look. It takes a while for it to load. There's probably a lot of people watching it right now. I would figure that's got to be what's going on, because it's definitely fighting me to get viewership of what's happening. But anyway, here we go. Here we go. Pardon me. Here we go.
Pirate Software is right about one specific thing. In his follow-up tweet to him trying to double down on the Stop Killing Games and why he hates it so much, he says, "Movements like this showcase to me how little the general public understands about game development, modern gaming architecture, and online games as a whole." And he's right. Most of the general public has never created a...
You know what I could do? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to But something that I could do. Okay, yeah. See, so it's at about the same spot right now. It hasn't moved much there. That's good. So something I could do, maybe this would make some sense. Scroll down a little bit, and then I just make this its own window real quick. Maybe this will make sense, and then we can react to stuff and also have this kind of in the background that we can adjust or update. And you know what else I can do? Oh, you know what else I can do? Hold on. Do I still have? I used to have manage extensions. Maybe I don't. I might not. I might have it anymore. The auto update thing, the auto refresh. Hold on. Is there a way that I can get? Okay, we'll watch this and I'll figure this out in the background. I don't want to, Okay. Pull this up. Picture in picture. There we go.
Game. They don't understand the trials and tribulations of game development. Well, I figured to solve that problem, let's go ahead and chat with a game developer that might know a few things and could explain it to us, the general public. And so yesterday, I had the privilege of getting to interview Jack Vania, a game developer who will introduce himself shortly. And this was a very insightful and very interesting interview. And so in this interview, Jack pushes back on some of the points made by Pirate Software, offers solutions to the issues that he's brought up, but more broadly talks about the Stop Killing Games initiative from the perspective of a game developer who's ready to work with this initiative and make the changes that would need to be done to keep making games. And finally, before we jump into the interview, I'm just letting you know, check the pinned comment. It's going to be links to this guy's YouTube channel as well as his Twitter, and I'm going to leave it in the description. So please go to his page, give him a subscribe, listen to what he has to say. Again, a very intelligent guy. But with all that out of the way, enjoy the interview. Thanks for hopping in for the stream. Just kind of introduce yourself and do a bit of chit chat, what you've done, that kind of thing.
And I just want to say, I respect this quite a bit. I love the idea of getting an actual game dev and chatting with them. Because I try to figure out what I can just by maybe chatting with an indie dev over Discord or maybe within the comments while I'm streaming. But the idea of actually getting one on, talking about some of these topics, and I have had calls with a game dev, but not nothing quite like this interview wise. It's very cool.
My name is Jack Vania. I'm a video game developer. I've been in and out of the industry since about 2007. I started developing, though, I would say code in about 2014. And I say it that way because I wouldn't consider myself of working in the industry in like the front lines in terms of like development and stuff like that. I was just in and around since about 2007. So I don't really consider that like part of my resume because it would just be essentially padding it.
Sure.
But in terms of like development since about 2014.
And that language of like, I don't consider myself to have been a developer at that given time is kind of important and a little like cheeky or whatever you want to call it, right? Because he's sort of saying like how Pirate Software will really try to maximize, here's the amount of time I was a developer. I don't take an issue with that because I've talked to developers. I've wondered about this kind of point, not just because of Pirate Software, even before that. I found it interesting, the idea of, are you a developer if you maybe are just working on a game in Unity, but you've never made one before and you're just really learning how to do things? The answer I've found has almost always been, yes, you're a developer. Developers don't gatekeep like this ordinarily. I'm not saying like, but it does feel like that's a conversation that happened a lot more once the Pirate Software stuff started happening, or like once I saw that, where normally like regular developers, they're not as, maybe they might say like as a professional developer, that's a little different. But as like, am I a developer? Am I not a developer? Whatever. Just want to point that out.
That's when I started. Programmer before that doing
that's being said for that specific reason.
Other stuff, web, shit like that. Making some small games here and there. My main source of revenue in this was, you ever play a video game, whether it's made by a solo developer or like a 200-person studio and there's 1,000 people at the end of that list?
Yeah.
In the credits? I'm one of those 1,000 people. Okay. So what that means is like, we all have friends, all of us programmers, we're all friends with one another. Developers, we're all friends with one another. We all talk to one another. We all ask each other for help. Like when you have a problem. And that just happened to be like the thing I did. So I'm somewhat of a generalist, not really a specialist, but I guess I'm like a specialist generalist, where if somebody can't figure something out or they have a problem to solve, they would call me. That's basically it. I've been working in and out. I've published a few different games on my own under different aliases, which I'm not going to talk about, but it was one of those things where lightning in a bottle the first time, okay.
This is something that I find interesting as well. So he's talking a little bit about being a developer being a developer with under a lot of different aliases, a lot of different names. And it's something I've noticed a lot in indie gaming is it's really hard to tell who made what game. Like you see something, you really like it, and then they just never make a game again, but they're still making games. Like it did pretty well. Most likely they still are. And then you see a really cool game with a lot of talent that must have gone into it, but there's no, like the developer is this is a first time making a game. Absolutely. That's just not true, right? Almost certainly. So it is hard to track. And I wonder why that is. Like, I don't think he's going to necessarily answer it here. It's not on topic as much, but I do wonder why developers tend to run under aliases and not stick with one name. Like there's some answers that I could give to it, but I don't know.
That's totally cool. Let's see if I can do that again. Sort of lightning in a bottle. Number 3 was also sort of lightning in a bottle. I'm going to see if I do that one more time under this current pseudonym, Jackmania. So we're going to see what happens with that. But I'm super duper interested actually to talk about this initiative here.
Yeah.
When it comes to Stop Killing Games, because I don't want to talk too much about Pirate because he's not here to defend himself or anything like that or give his point of view. He already did give his point of view. When I faced him on Twitter, I said my point of view, that was about it, but I'm not going to do it when he's not here. But we will talk about some of this stuff still to kind of clear up the air, what I think technically wise, where I see he has problems.
If you don't mind. So the main thing that I was talking to Jack about before we started this was we're going to go through, the Stop Killing Games initiative, hear his perspective about it, as a game dev. But I did want to touch on, and this isn't to, drag Pirate Software or anything like that. It was just to touch on specifically a lot of his rhetoric surrounds, people that aren't in the industry, that aren't in the game development industry, don't understand how high, how high a bar it is to allow this initiative to go through and how that could impact specifically live service games, but game development as a whole. So that's like a big one that I want to touch on with you. But of course, when we're ready to do that, let's jump into it.
No, perfect. We'll start there, actually.
Okay.
So video games, if I could say, I'm sure Private, this too. Video games are incredibly difficult to make. That's not a lie. They're incredibly complex machines. You look at them, and this is one of the major problems I see with Pirate, and I see with a lot of other developers who might not have extensive experience working on multiple titles. This is the 30,000-foot view problem, where if you take a step back and you take a look at something like an MMO, it's this incredible machine of moving parts. There's whirring, clicking, buzzing, gears, levers, lights blinking, all sorts of stuff. And at 30,000 feet, it looks incredibly complex and difficult because it is. And it's a miracle these things ever actually even work. Like, it still blows my mind when I look at stuff like we're doing ray tracing and shit like that today, everything we're doing with AI. It blows my mind that any of this stuff actually works. But if we zoom in, we get a little bit of a different perspective. We don't see this gigantic like monstrosity. We see all the individual moving parts. We see the nuts and the bolts. Like, hey, look, this nut and this bolt are holding these two pieces together. This other nut and this bolt are holding these two pieces together. And then those two contraptions are being held together by another nut and a bolt. If you kind of understand what I'm saying, with simplifying it down to the core components, the base components is always going to be the best way to go. 30,000-foot view is not a good way to look at things or analyze things. It is in a macro sense, but a lot of the work that we do depends on the micro. So one of the big problems that I have, specifically with this industry, is this failure to move forward. Failure to adapt to new things and to just kind of do better. And what I mean by that is, I'm assuming Pirate is looking at this from a perspective of, this is going to be impossible to do today with how we do things today, because he lacks the forward thinking to be like, okay, so we just need to change the way we do things going forward, which is the correct approach. Complexity isn't an engineering problem. Complexity is a brain compute problem. Slow down, space things out, and plan ahead. That is where the major pain points lie in development. It's not that things are complex. We can build complex anything. We have cars that drive themselves now, right? We send rockets into space, they land back down on the ground. Complexity is not an issue. That's not an engineering issue. That's a brain compute issue. So we need to change the way we do things and we author things in the future moving forward.
The lack of foresight, imagination. I still think he's lying. Yeah. I mean, the arguments of whether or not he's lying. You can't know for sure in a lot of ways. I think there's some things that seem apparent, which is that he's realized now that there's some of the things that Pirate Software had talked about previously were just not accurate. But for those things, he's not. I think I think he's sort of blanket statements saying like I agree with my perspective before without getting into the details, which which kind of sucks. Which kind of sucks because I think it'd be better if he could just at least be like these certain things were incorrect, So, and I think the reason he's not doing that is because to portray himself as wrong about one thing, people will run away with it. Because in terms of chatters and people online, there's a weird tendency to be like if you're wrong about one thing, you're wrong about everything. If you're wrong about one thing, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. So and he even admitted that he was wrong about it. Therefore, we can invalidate every other point. Like that's a realistic fear to have. But it's sort of if you're going to weigh in on something like this, I think you have to be willing to. I think you should be willing to be wrong about it, but holy cow, there's a lot of people who just aren't when it comes to almost any of this stuff. Like big creators online, it's like I feel there's points where I'm wrong about like some particular thing, but I don't have this like if I was wrong about this thing here or there, people aren't necessarily going to be like, okay, look, every other point he ever makes. Like for example, I think if it weren't for something like this, like until Stop Killing Games, I feel like Thor, Pirate Software, whatever, it had a pretty clean reputation, and all the negative stuff was like just random tidbits of nonsense. In my opinion, okay, the things that I had been able to find, because there were people who were like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. He's a bad person, and I'm like, bro, like this is all just weird. Like this is like maybe he's a pervert or something, right? Like I don't care. What does this have to do with anything? And then this happens, and people are like, look, he's this, and then look at all these other things, and I'm like, well, this is bad. I mean, this is bad. This is a bad look. This isn't a good thing. He's pushing against consumer rights, and then he's not backing up his arguments, and then he's also not like when he's proven false on certain things, he's not like, hey, my bad on that, I didn't realize at the time, but like these are still good points. Like all those, like these are the ways you're supposed to kind of treat these sorts of positions when you're making a point like, hey, I don't think you guys should support this because it has these problems. You should be willing to be like, yeah, like some things are okay about it, or some things I was wrong about. There are still concerns in order to validate your own position. Anyway, I've talked about this ad nauseum, I feel like, this particular thing, but I would say there's a point where he did things that are wrong. But yeah, viewers are different. Viewers are going to say, look at all the other things that are just like really not important. These are all just as important as everything else, because if you do even one of these things, you're wrong forever. So admitting being wrong is tough. It's tough. Watch the Dr. K video. Yeah, that honestly could be interesting. I generally like Dr. K well enough, although there's like, I've always had kind of a tough time fully, well, because there's, I mean, obviously you can point to Recful or like other different situations that have been, or just the fact that, yeah, creators are kind of incentivized to exaggerate their own issues for the sake of it being like very clear. Like it makes a very strong, good video. That makes me a little bit unsure at points, but I still like the idea of encouraging mental health stuff. But then again, at the same time, like it's a little bit reckless. Yeah, it's a little reckless. In the same way as like the way that someone like Anthony Padilla might romanticize or fetishize mental health in order to build his audience, because people are like, oh, it's so attractive to, in my opinion, I feel like there's some of that goes on online that mental health is important, right? Anyway, need to exaggerate anything else. Yeah, he doesn't need to, but like, well, like think about someone like Kai Cenat or Speed or like any big creator. Like when you get really to that big size, if they didn't exaggerate, they never would have got there. Like that's kind of what I'm getting at with that comment is, like, how much of it's real. And then like, let me give another example as well. Like the whole stuff, like everything happening with Ludwig, right? When it comes to Ludwig and the Burial cart, all that stuff, I don't know if you follow that or not, but I would just say like it's not important, the details of all that. Obviously we can talk about that, but the important part of what I might point out there is like someone really being like, oh, alcoholism, oh, he's an alcoholic, like that stuff. If they believed in the moment that this person is going to have a real problem, or that this is, I think they might do something about it. But when you use language like alcoholic or alcoholism, it like exaggerates the point. And then everyone later is like, oh, not to defend it, because I think that like that whole situation is really messy. But in general, the reason that people are using those phrases in those situations isn't because they recognize the problem fully. It's because that's what chatters, like they see that and they're like, oh, it's exciting, which sucks, but that's how exaggeration, yeah, it's more interesting in those situations. All right, anyway.
And there's a lot of other pieces that will fall into place as we begin to do that. And development, I believe, will get easier over time if we do that now and still be better for the consumer than it actually is.
And so just kind of reiterate on that point. So when we're getting into talking about having to change a lot of the structure and how it exists now, you had mentioned in your kind of tweet responding to him that this is stuff that had been figured out like years ago, like truly years ago. And so you were specifying about multiplayer games. And so I'm a bit curious myself, because when it comes down to, they're talking about live service and, having ownership of servers given to people when they're killing off the game, like those kinds of ideas. Could you give me a bit more info as to, like, specifically when it comes to multiplayer games, how was that issue fixed? Like, how do you take care of that if we're to move forward?
Let's rewind a little bit to how things were done a super long time ago. I'll just glance over this part. A lot of older games.
The site crashed, too many eyeballs. No, I agree. Like, it takes it a while to adjust or recognize, what it should be doing. But, like, I think giving a little bit of time, at least so far, whenever I refresh and I wait a little while, sometimes it does pop up. So, like, I think we can still get there. And what I'm going to do here, just so that we make sure we can kind of see it in real time if possible, if at all possible, is Yeah, here we go. Like, look at that. Look at this. So it will show up sometimes. So I'll just swap which one it's focused on, I guess. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, we'll carry on.
Would ship with multiple executables. You would have your client executable, which you would boot up for single player, and joining other games. And you have like a server executable. Some of you guys who are old as I am will probably remember that. Then later on, we started shipping kind of both as like an all-in-one peer-to-peer systems hosting, that kind of thing. And obviously, that technology doesn't exist now. We can't use the same protocols. We can't use the same tools and everything as we did back then. But in terms of making kind of things future-proof and bringing that forward with multiplayer, so let's say we're making a game, and our game it's Super Shoot in the Face 9000. It's the hottest new thing. Everybody's playing it better than Call of Duty. Awesome. So we have this multiplayer component, and everybody's playing it. Everybody loves it, but we're going to sunset it because we decided that it's too expensive to keep the servers up and running. The first thing throughout development, if we were developing this correctly the right way, there's a few different ways to do it. Knowing that we had this kind of sunset clause, we could say, okay, so what are we using for server architecture? What does our server structure looks like? Okay, so maybe we're using a little bit of Amazon, maybe something from Microsoft. There's authentication servers over here. This is where we store our data. And these are all individual pieces that are up in the cloud, quote unquote cloud. They're all working together to provide like a single, I would say server to the, colloquially that everyone identifies it as, that the player would then log on, the client would log on to play the game with everyone else. Well, maybe we just don't do that. At least not for the end user when we're going to sunset a game. Maybe we do something a little bit different. Maybe we build something alongside it separately and maintain it separately. Something that is small, something that is compact. Because one of the things here, an example, let me see if I could find it. I was taking a look at this is Stop Killing Games website over here. This is underneath the fact, and I was reading through this and just kind of like taking some notes. But what he's talking over here about, example of an MMORPG, isn't impossible for customers to run those when servers are shut down. So this over here, he mentions not all will be this scalable, however, which is true. I mentioned this earlier about using these different services. Like you get Amazon, you got Microsoft, you have authentication servers, all sorts of different integrity checks, security, stuff like that. Sure, we can strip out a lot of that stuff because here it says, so if a server could originally support 5,000 people, but the end user version can only support 500, that's still a massive improvement from no one being able to play the game ever again. So what this tells me, my little note here is, this clearly implies that a one-to-one state is not expected, and an approximation is a reasonable enough solution. What that means is that it doesn't have to be exact. It can be an approximate of what the game was live. And we could
and this is an important thing, because I think I saw this from Pirate Software a few different points, is like, this just isn't going to work because you can't get every map. You can't get every this, every that. It won't be exactly the same. And I always felt a little weird. Like, I understand that you might want every map. This is something I said last time. But I understand you might want every map, but if you had, like, the difference between a game and no game is so massive, and then we can start talking about the details of how much of a game you need. Which, again, I think Pirate Software might respond to that with, well, if it's not all figured out, then it's not gonna... it's not going to happen. It's like, no, eat my entire ass, like, or whatever, right? Like all these lines from Pirate Software. But realistically, like, yeah, having a game is such an important difference. Yeah, and then we can figure some of that stuff out. And I think having a game that you can play with some type of end position similar to the original end position, like, these are very basic things, and we can get to the rest. But can't save the entire book, so why bother with a few pages? Burn it all. Right? Yeah, it's kind of a weird position. Although I'd like, to be totally good faith and everything, like, the argument would be rewrite it in a way where you could keep it all, but also would not be infringing on devs too much, which is like, where that exactly is going to be different for different people. It's like, this is how you get nothing done, basically, unfortunately. Even though, like, there might be some good sentiment there, maybe, but yeah, like, if it was like, if all we're saying is like, it's really far away, here's like a few steps to get it closer, that would be fine. But anyway, let's carry on. It is kind of frustrating when people, it's like, yeah, how would consumers ever get anything done? It's so hard for consumers to get anything done in the first place, because banning behind legislation instead of banning behind boycotting is such an important difference that I think consumers aren't naturally, like, as an individual, you're not going to be like, oh, I guess I'll go vote in my legislation. You're going to be like, I guess I won't play that thing. If you're an extreme, if you're an extreme, like, I really feel strongly about it, maybe you just don't buy from Amazon. You just don't get, you don't use Facebook. You just don't do this thing. That's about as far as most consumers will go, and that's pretty far compared to what a lot of them do, where they just say, like, I don't like it, So expecting like, okay, we've got a consumer movement that people are really behind, that really, like, they're really passionate about this thing, and it has all these things laid out, and they have to have a decent understanding to even really care about it, and many of them do have that decent understanding. It's like, okay, like, this is something that can happen, and then it's like, well, technically it's not perfect, so like,
do that. So we could build our game with, maybe we build it with some nicer APIs. I think I spoke about that on Twitter too. If nobody knows or understands what an API is, the simplest way is to say that I would like my glasses case and my pen, these are two individual applications. I would like them to talk to one another, but they can't because it's a pen in a glasses case. So I have to develop some kind of a protocol. You can call it a language, you can call it a set of rules, so that they can exchange information back and forth without having access, without the glasses case having access to the ink, and without the pen having access to the glasses inside. So think about like Twitter, for example. Perfect example, social media. Now I'm going to guess at what their APIs are. I have no idea because I'm not signed up for them, nor do I really care for their APIs. But I'm assuming that if I were to sign up for their APIs and pay for them, I'd be able to do things like read a whole lot of data off of the website. I could probably write data to the website. I could probably have access to better search tools so that I could scrape data a little bit better, more analytics tools so that I could see more about posts. And on my end, I could write a program in something like Python to say, hey, look, I want to take all these users' posts from this one account. I want to save them all. And then I could have it parse out the post ID, the name, who this person was talking to, the text and the images, this, that, and the other. Parse out in JSON or XML or something like that. Perfect. Then I could take whatever I want with that data and do with it whatever I want. So I could create heat maps of who this individual likes talking to, who they most interact with, topics that they really like a lot. And whatever I want with the data. The API would just let me talk to Twitter without having direct access to the database, without having direct access to the code from my little Python script that I wrote. That is effectively what an API does. It's also a form. It could be considered a form.
Oh, this is interesting. Like just at least a little glimpse into something I've wondered about for sure. It's like going about, so you get all this data, right? Like with Borderlands, that whole situation, you get all this data. You're trying to collect a ton of data. I think with something like Twitter or Facebook or Google, although I think they can't, well, they definitely are invasive in their data harvesting practices. At the same time, like there's some things that they might be able to have, assuming you give them access to them, where we're like, okay, maybe I'm okay with that. Like, for example, maybe for me personally, the idea of the Apple, the wallet where I can put my credit card in and then it's inside my phone. I see the benefits of it, but I also am just like, I don't really need that. I can just have a wallet, so I don't do it. But for some people, maybe they see the benefit of that, and that could be like, okay, well then it needs to be able to, like, they need to ask, like within their policies, they need to say we can store that data. Okay, fine. I can be more open to some of these things. But then when it comes to Borderlands, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I need you to have it. Like, I don't know if I need you to have a lot of these things. What do you need my gender for? Like, you know what I mean? What do you need my my age for? Honestly, like, what? Like, why do you need these things? I like assuming it's maybe if it's age restricted to go on to, but that's like, we've always been able to play, like if your parents allow you to buy, like, you know what I mean? Like that's always been a thing that wasn't controlled by the company for them to be able to like age verify. And why does it need, why does Borderlands, I don't know. Why does Borderlands need certain data that they ask for? But I can see why certain other things might need that data. Maybe, sure. And then with that data, yeah, how do they go about combing through it? Like he's saying, sort of with an API, I guess, interacting with that data and using it for some purpose. Okay.
Or abstraction and programming.
Yeah, to just give it a go. So it's taking something that, admittedly at a face value would be very difficult to kind of set up. Like, for instance, like you were saying, the ink in the pen and the glasses case. And it's a protocol to set up and make that specific relationship. It allows it to happen in general, and it kind of just serves that function, and that's the goal of it, and it takes care of that specific job.
Yes. Pretty much.
So then, like, to go forward with that, you'd be able to use that API. So if you're actually building a game with the understanding that, let's say, this Stop Killing Games initiative is in play, if you were to use that, that means that you could prep an API to set up and, run the protocols that you need it to for when this gets to end of life.
Yeah, so you give those APIs to the end users so that they can create their own servers if they'd like. So super shoot you in the face 9000 could live on forever.
Right, and so it'd be...
Okay. Yeah, and I apologize if my understanding of API is way off, because this is just not a term I'm familiar with. Yeah, like I'm not a developer. But like that's what I'm kind of grasping is like, yeah, how we take data and use it in just a very basic way, I guess, because what he's talking about here is more like using that, like there's a ton of data going through the system of like what inputs you're using, how different, I don't know, gravity and weapons and whatever, like all these different numbers and bits of data, how all of them are existing, and you need some way to kind of interact with all that data in a way to read it and have it make sense, I guess. And that's maybe what's happening on the server side, or like what's happening, yeah, like what the companies are doing, and that's what they want. That's what they want the consumer to be able to do. That's what I'm gathering. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's wrong.
Be a baby version of it, so you're not having to give up like everything. It's not doing something crazy like that. It's just like it's listed in the Stop Killing Games initiative, a functional, playable game.
Exactly.
Where like this part is something I can be like, yeah, like this is the consumer, because I think much like anything with computers, there's all the weird crazy stuff happening inside, and then there's sort of the UI or whatever. There's sort of like this is how we dumb all that down so Mr. Consumer Brain can have a good time interacting with it. That's what functional playable state means to me. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that. That's easy. That's easy. I understand what that means. Everyone understands what that means. That's good. That's a good way to say it. Talk about APIs, and I start swimming around in the mist. I'm lost.
So we could do things like that with multiplayer games. MMOs are kind of a different beast because they obviously. I don't think I'd be able to handle thousands of people on my computer here at home.
Sure.
But yeah, no. We plus, even if we just didn't even want to do that at all and just want to create like a small bespoke server, we could do that too. Or better yet, some games to help facilitate this kind of not even end of life, but just support for the game in general, have open sourced a lot of the tools that they've used for their servers so that people can create their own solutions and actually contribute to the projects to keep things alive.
Yeah, perfect example. I mean, Gary's mod, Team Fortress 2, like these places have those open things. Now, admittedly, I do think about, the issue that has run in where Pirate Software was talking about, people monetizing that, like think like Minecraft, a lot of those servers, or like GTA 5, they have paid servers that you can join. I guess, where does that kind of run in? So maybe I'm a little uneducated, I might be jumping over, but I am aware that in some instances like this, to run those separate servers, it can be illegal.
Yeah, because you're making money off of the work of somebody else, like undeniably, right? So, which if the game goes down and they're not having exist anymore in any capacity, it's like, okay, there's sort of this weird question there of, is it okay then to? It's essentially like not just pirating but also monetizing piracy, I suppose. Oh, not even piracy, because people have paid to play the game, but they're I gotta think about that. But they're making money off it. So it wouldn't actually, no. This is a little different, because it wouldn't matter if the game was up or not. They're still making money from the game's existence. So is that okay? I suppose the game, if the game, like Minecraft, let's say, if Minecraft made it so that these servers can monetize, but some cut of that is going back to Mojang, much like YouTube might do. Like YouTube has a system where, yeah, you can get paid. But some of that money has to go back to YouTube. If you find a way to get paid without YouTube getting a cut, they're like, I don't like that, right? I don't like you saying, and they let you do it. Like they let you send people to Patreon, I suppose, right? But yeah, to a certain extent, it's like we want as many ways as possible to make sure that we make money from the things that are from the money earned on our platform. So whether that's through advertising or through like memberships or through super chats or whatever, all these kinds of features, just like Twitch, right? So. Yeah, I would think Minecraft or any of these other places, they would want to find a way, right? Site suddenly is down just before 1 million signatures. What a coincidence. It's just because there's so many people using it, right? Websites always, I don't want to, okay, I don't know if that's for sure the reason. I don't want to speak so boldly, but like in general, that's how websites tend to be, is they will go down. But look, we're at 999,614. It's still up. It's still up. Because I've got two copies of it, and I'm refreshing. I refresh this one. We look over at this one, right? It's 999,614. There you go, right? I'm keeping you in the loop, all right? But yeah, it definitely does take a while for it to load. I'll agree with that much. It's struggling. It's struggling for sure. Under the weight of all of the needy people. Give me my legislation. Adding to the workload. Yeah. But you know what? Let's say if enough people are watching here, I might be reducing it. I'm just saying. Yeah, imagine. But no, you're right. But if I don't do it, then we won't know. Then we won't know. How will we know?
Like what specifically about it makes
I think my individual component here is okay. I think they'll manage it.
Illegal. Is that the developer, publisher making it so?
Doing 5 times more than a regular.
I'm assuming I'm not
civilian.
100%.
I saw someone use the word civilian. I'm sorry. I saw someone use the word civilian recently as like a non-content creator, and I was just like that's their term for what it is. It's like what? Like this is crazy. Hopefully, it creates a Streisand effect, and we'll just get even more signatures as buffer for illegitimate signatures. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think because I've definitely heard that. I don't know for sure, like, because people are saying you got to get over 1 million. It's not just 1 million, you got to hit over 1 million, because some of them are going to be illegitimate. But then I've also heard that the website is like, or in some way they're automatically kind of calculating for that, and it goes back down, or in some, I don't know how true that is, but I did see that in the Stop Killing Games Discord. They were talking about, like, some people are saying need over 1 million, it has to get well over, because there's going to be some that aren't real, and then other people were saying, well, no, it does. They do check for that as it's going along, and they don't count them until they're verified, or something. There's something like that, or that they take them back down. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. It's just what I'm hearing. I surf the waves of the internet and I hear things.
On law, but I'm assuming it would be copyright or IP, and there's be more notes about this too. Oh yes, this would be where is it at here? Copyright. This is something I'm thinking about too, especially in regards to this movie.
I wonder if Pyro's going to have an invalid crash out. Well, okay, so yeah, I don't know what's going on with Pyro right now. I will say, like, my understanding. Well, actually, no. I have a video on it. Maybe because we're getting really close. It's 639. We're less than 400 votes away. This is an interesting video, but because you bring it up, okay. It's Pirate is done with it, but not so. Okay, Will, you sent in Harmful Opinions video not too long ago, and I'll admit, like, the video that I watched, I didn't care for. I felt like it was sort of it was extrapolating information to create a bigger point than it needed to. Like, there's facts, and then there's just kind of like, here's a fact, but it's like, well, that's not really a fact. You're just saying that based off of data that might point to it. You're not like yeah. It's just, this is a bad. But this video I really did like. Okay, this video I really did like. So far, I watched the first like 4 minutes, and I was like, this is interesting. This is actually pretty interesting. So this is on the topic of Pirate Software leaving off-brand, which is a lot of people like one way of attacking Pirate Software's position, which I don't do because I would rather attack his actual position than attack based on extraneous factors, which might play a role. I mean, almost certainly play a role, sure, but I don't know how much of a role. I can't prove that. I can't, I can just assume or not assume. Okay, but just get that out of the way. But he did apparently leave Off-Brand Games, which means he's no longer a part of the live service game, apparently, which is Rivals of Aether, right? And posted a tweet about it. And then Harmful Opinions is going over that and talking about some of the information around it. And I think does a really good job. So let's just look at that real quick, if you don't mind. I'm going to refresh this page because I think otherwise that's not going to disappear. And then I'm going to, because I was kind of impressed. I was like, this is actually not bad at all. In my opinion, let's see. Come on, can this pick and pick? Let me make sure it's getting to the right one. This one, right? No, picture in picture. There we go. Yes, perfect. Gonna drink Boravicta. I haven't heard of it, but best of luck. July 4th sale, perfect time. There you go. I was busy with his Twitch channel burning. Yeah,
I am no longer working at Off-Brand Games, says Pirate Software. People were attacking all of the games we were publishing and trying to mass review bomb them. You can dislike the things I say, but this kind of behavior is unhinged. Oh man, let's check out the carnage, because Off-Brand Games are extremely vulnerable to that kind of attack right now. See, as far as I can tell, they've got 3 products on Steam right now, and 2 of them are only available in the form of a free demo, with an independent demo page each. What this means from the perspective of someone who wants to review bomb their games, get together with other people or use bots, there are soft targets to deface. Because with the demo, the only barrier is downloading it, running it for a bit, and then you're allowed to leave a review. You don't have to pay anything. See, I downloaded Bonnie Bear Saves Frog Time demo, and now...
Let me see. If someone keeps lying to you, when do you start assuming he is lying the next time? I would say, to me, this is the most, like, actually lying thing that I've seen. It's yeah, this is hard to defend, I'll admit. Before this point, I think the other things you could point to, like, not doing your research, not knowing enough. This one, this is hard to defend.
Now I can leave a review. I'm not going to, and you shouldn't either, but it's right there, and for anyone who wants to hit all their games, it's effortless. So with review bombers targeting all their products, this is gonna be it's literally received 1 negative review ever, and that was in January. So their other soft target with a free demo, Aethermancer, that must have been defaced with a review bomb, right? Not exactly. Okay, so their other game that's actually out, Rivals of Aether 2, and Ludwig, who I believe is a founder of Off-Brand Games, said for sure, that one is being review bombed. Such a bummer Rivals 2 is getting any shit. People are now review bombing the game. The now deleted tweet he was quoting doesn't seem to call for such a thing.
Interesting. Hold on.
Said for sure, that one is being review bombed.
I want to see these tweets
Such a bummer.
Rivals of Aether 2 getting crap for this. Few devs support their games as much as the Rivals of Aether team. They still patched the original Rivals game 10 years after release. People are now review bombing the game because of what? Pirate Software, who has no personal stake in the game, works at Off-Brand Games, feels wrong. Yeah, this isn't like, so review bombing is a vague term. Like let's say 10 people review bomb, or like 10 people all say like the same copy paste nonsense. Like those people might be actively attempting to, or like actively review bombing without everyone else doing it. Let's say like the number, it's a little vague though, because you, like when you say the game is getting review bombed, you would think of that as being proportional. So if a game has 10,000 good reviews coming in, a review bomb you would expect to be proportional to 10,000, to be at least a reasonable number where they're just copy pasted rage things. In my opinion. Okay, my understanding of review bombing.
Rivals 2 is getting any shit. People are now review bombing the game. The now deleted tweet he was quoting doesn't seem to call for such a thing, but maybe people underneath it were saying they were gonna. And he confirmed today that the games they support have been getting review bombed. So we're looking for mass negative reviews of Rivals of Aether 2 that are not about the game, or are obviously not really about the game, even if they pretend to be. That's going to be way harder to bomb because there's a price tag on it. Are people bombing it somewhere else, like on Metacritic? No, 3 negative reviews ever. So Rivals of Aether 2 has been review bombed on Steam. I have to ask, where? We want to see a big old red spike. Where?
Right, because that's what happened with, because you see this, and this is what always happens when a lot of people are playing the game. A certain portion are going to have negative reviews. It's just going to happen, right? That makes sense, of course. So you would expect it to be proportionate. Like if it's getting bombed, you'd expect a pretty big portion, not just some negative reviews, for sure.
Where is it? In the month of June, the most negative reviews it got in a day was 6. As far as I can count, less than 10 have anything to do with Pirate Software or Stop Killing Games. But there aren't even enough negative reviews in total that if they were all about that, it could be called any kind of review bomb. But of course, because Ludwig said it was being review bombed, people went on to counter that. One user's recommendation reads, "Game is getting review bombed."
Hey man, Omen, welcome. Hey, wait, you get it here then. You get it here because I'm able to get it. I've got something working for me at least. So what I'm doing is I'm just alternating refreshing, which I know, but we're so close. Look at this. 26 gigs away, really? Yeah, because we're at last I refreshed was 999,798, which is less than 300, certainly about 200 signatures left. Oh wait, hold on. Overdrive. Wait, what's this? Okay. We've unlocked the next stage. What is this? Okay, the European Citizens Initiative is open. 1 million. That's so huge. That's so huge. Oh, okay. Overdrive, 0%. What does this mean? To cover for invalid signatures, we may need at least 1.4 million signatures to secure this petition. May need. But I have heard, I don't know. Okay, I've heard things like that they're being kind of accounted for on the way. They're doing their best. But okay. I mean, we can watch the rest of this in chat, but this is crazy. This is huge. GG, fuck Pirate Software. Hey, fair. It is crazy. It is crazy the amount of the amount of just unnecessary behavior over there. I hear you. This is awesome. Look at that boss second stage. It does kind of feel like, look at this, like this extra bar appears, dun, a little bit. But no, that's huge. That's awesome. You love to see it. Because 10 months ago it looked like. 10 months ago, it looked like, okay, maybe it could happen eventually. We need a lot of work going there. And then it felt like just nothing happened for such a long time. And then when I did the Borderlands video, I was like, I'll talk about Stop Killing Games. It's a very important, very cool thing. But like, it doesn't feel like it's going to actually happen, but it's awesome. People are fighting for it. It's awesome. People are talking about it. And then in just the span of the last week, really, week or 8 days, 9 days, something like that, it's just completely turned around. Very cool. Very, very cool.
For some blank that ain't even true, Lamau. Ironic. When I originally tweeted my skepticism of the review bomb, something became clear. People heard about the bomb, went to the page, saw it was on Mixed, and seemed to have thought it dropped down to 50% because of this review bomb. The #1 post about review bombing in their subreddit talks about it dropping to 52% after this review bomb. But that is actually intensely misleading. So we do know a little while before the SKG related reviews, it was on 60%. They're right about that. And on June 26th, post-bombing, it was down to 52%. They're right about those numbers, but there's something they're ignoring. It was 60% of 155 reviews.
Yeah, the difference between like going from 60, because like, I feel like I haven't seen a ton of review bombing in my life. Maybe I just haven't paid enough attention to it in general. But like with Borderlands, it was like a 98%. Everyone just loves this game, and then it went down to a. Okay, let's hold on. So, but yeah, it is taking a while for it to load. But we got our million. We got our million, which is awesome. Yeah, we'll see how it like. Is it still moving? I would expect that it's gonna at least jump a certain amount more. And it's crazy how much the attention from people like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye came in. The problem with Borderlands case is that it's not off topic. Borderlands case is that it's not off topic. But yeah, it's. I guess I don't know if I totally understand. But like I'm just thinking about like it's like 98%, and then the actual bombing, like for the span of time that it was happening, I guess was so opposite. I was prepared to give a thumbs down for the ULA. Yeah. No, and I agree. Like, it is kind of crazy. Like, it's funny to me, I guess, the Borderlands stuff. Like, when I was looking at that, Stop Killing Games was at not in any capacity. I feel like no one was paying really much attention to it. But in my mind, I was like, hey, what's like something that I know about that I think is a really good step in a positive direction in this kind of topic, in this kind of area where corporations are messing with consumers, and this is just kind of spot on. It's just cool. It's just cool. Why they didn't give it the white asterisk. Yeah. Next milestone, 10 millimeters. That would be insane. That would be insane. But it is crazy that it got this far in like such a short amount of time. Because I wonder like, yeah, how much could this have realistically hit from this situation? Like in such a short amount of time, so much more support came through. But news is fickle or whatever. People lose interest quickly. But I would like to think, yeah, like even at the time, back when months ago when everything was happening, it does feel like so many creators might have covered it at the time who didn't because of all this pirate software stuff, all the drama, the nonsense. But then again, I mean, look at where it is now. This was always something I thought at the time as well, was like, you got maybe one of the biggest people on Twitch talking about something and being, disingenuous and all this stuff. Is it done, or we need 400k more? The site just says server inaccessible. My understanding is like, my understanding based on what I was reading there and like whatever is it has hit the million, but to be sure that it's going to like that there's no recount going to happen, it's going to be technically a little bit less. Like you just want as much wiggle room as you can get, which is a little tough. Like what is the messaging going to be around that, just to make sure it because like obviously that would be tragic, right? We definitely don't want there to be any doubt. So like, yeah, what's the messaging there? Maybe you know what? Let's pop into, because it's it's a Discord. It's freely available to be popped into. Why not? Let's pop over to Stop Killing Games official. Yeah, let's just see if. Well, I think people are just gonna be chatting in here. News, something like somewhere where it's like here's like an official thing. I can't talk in myself that someone can announce like here's something that happened. Extremely nigh. People are still popping off about it about to happen. Noted that with apologies we have to disable images server wide, and they're not yet talking about it. Gosh dang it, I'm so curious like what happens now, especially with that being shown. Gosh dang, I should have even refreshed the one, because people are really flooding in. It seems they must be right at this point, but it'll come back. Mean more priority for SKG. Yeah, I mean, I think. Okay, it really depends on how quickly everything moves. So yesterday, actually this morning when I woke up, I was kind of thinking about it, like, okay, what, because SKG is so close, but it's like 80-something%. Okay, it's at 80-something%. Maybe like one more final big push. I know PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, and like some of these people have talked about it so recently, so there could still be a little influx from that. But what if it just kind of slows and stops and we're like, okay, it's gonna pass. We all agree, it's gonna pass, and then it just doesn't. So that would be kind of tragic. So like in a similar situation here, this is the same kind of thing to be concerned about. Is like, although we have hit the million, what if people are just like, it's over, it's done, we don't need it anymore. And maybe we do. I mean, based on this, based on what I was just saying there, it does seem like there might be a little bit more needed just to make sure we're secure. It's still a huge deal regardless to hit a million. But in case, is it me or the server's petition site gone? I don't know. I shouldn't have refreshed it at the point where I saw the million, because it's such a cool number to see there. But for me at least so far, they will pop up after a certain amount of time. So we'll see if they pop up. Servers are down at the moment. Yeah. We'll see if they pop back up. And I'll even give it a third tab. Okay. Don't need 400k more, but I did get the moment. I got the million moment. Feels good, man. Feels good to see. Feels great to see. Fair to give a thumbs down for the ULA. Imagine next milestone 10 mil. And there it is. There it is. Right. Oh baby. Right. Here we go. There it is. The million. We got it back. I got it in one of them at least. Okay, we have three with the balls rolling it. We have the dice rolling. We got it in one. There it is. Still not over. The more signatures, the better. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, the concern, I guess, of this, the overdrive, seems to be that just to absolutely make sure there's no invalid signatures. I mean, I feel like 1.4 million is it really going to be that? Well, but yeah, like one person or like a certain small set of people could be mass producing votes, I suppose. which could inflate the number quite a bit. I doubt it's going to need, but who knows? More is good. More is good. Sign, but I can't. Yeah, no, it is only in the EU, and then I think there's one for the UK as well, right? Which actually I wonder where the UK one is sitting at this point. Let's see if it's. I think I can see. Actually, can't I see it on the Stop Killing Games page? There's like a link to the. But let's just do Killing Games UK here, United Kingdom. Does it show the number here? Because I think I've linked to it, but I don't know if I've ever actually directly gone to the UK version. Problem here is this petition specifically will have a higher fake signature rate because of its roots in the Anglosphere. The Anglosphere. It just sounds... I don't know if I know what the Anglosphere is. Maybe I'm showing my ignorance here. Countries where... Oh, okay. English is the main native language. Okay, gotcha. Really? Is that like a... I guess maybe... Well, I would expect maybe because it's a very tech-based thing that a lot of people who are very passionate about tech are going to be more likely to do things related to tech. I mean, sure. To me, that seems like it makes sense. From the EU, but because of the servers, I'm unable to sign them. Oh, gotcha. Oh, because they're... Yeah. Well, at least on my end, although, yeah, I guess encouraging more people to refresh like I'm doing is maybe not the best idea. But like if you're trying to get a sign in, hey. So you're saying even if you click the sign button there, it doesn't take you anywhere. I mean, it's taking me here, but I don't know. Maybe you can't actually submit or something like that. Yeah. Interesting. Close that. Roll here. Problem here is this petition specifically will have a higher fake signature. Interesting. 1.4 mil is fair. Is it really? Okay, gotcha. Fair enough. 32K signs in the UK. Gotcha. 132K English-speaking world. Gotcha. 132K signs. Wow. Yeah, because I think people were saying like which one is going to proportionally be higher, the UK one or the EU one, and they were saying, well, it's going to be the UK, which it makes sense, right? Like it's a lower bar, so it's going to be proportionally it's going to be higher. But I bet the web dev got notifications and had, but actually for the UK one, 132K means they're about at their 140% that they're looking to hit, I suppose, right? Clicked on the German flag, tried to go to the site to sign, and it's stuck on a loading screen. Gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but look, there we get it again. Yeah, we got 30 more votes in the time that I've just been kind of chatting about it here. Okay, this is cool. This is awesome. We'll see how it kind of adjusts and like whether it I don't know, slows down but that's cool. In the span of, and how long was that? I've been live for less than an hour, and we went from we got our like 500 plus signatures that were needed for the difference. German flag, try to let's see. So hold on, can I hit stop on this one, or I'll just pause the music just in case. Pause there.
And then 52% of 121
so
reviews.
cool.
This is because, of course, recent reviews is a 30-day window. The video that pissed everyone off dropped on June 23rd. So, what was Rivals of Aether 2's 30-day average the day before? 24th May to 22nd June, inclusive. 30 days. Using the archives to count day by day, by my maths, there were 130 reviews in that period, 72 of those being positive. That gets you 55% positive the day before Ross's video. So the claim is, that video got your review bombed, and your recent average dropped 3% by the 26th. Not much of a bomb, is it? But
yeah, that's because it's like because what he's getting at there when I'm sort of talking about review bombing is like if a game has 98% and it goes down all the way to like to like what was like 9%, I think at the lowest for Borderlands, like that gap is like yeah there's something major happening, and it's probably not related to the game. If it is related to the game, like you could almost still call that review bombing, but it would be more just like it'd be more accurate to say that it's just like a negative response to the actual game quality change. But like going from 98% to like 9% or whatever for Borderlands was like clearly review bombing. Where with something like this, it's like going down, like 3% is like, okay, the game was already badly rated. Like maybe there's a few extra, maybe, but it's arguable. But that could just be fluctuation. That's within fluctuation range for sure.
it gets worse.
I guess the sudden traffic fried their servers. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's been going on as I've been watching. But look there. That's another. Wait, that's a bigger jump than I think I've seen in that span of time in a hot minute. We just got 100 boost. Okay, cool. Look at that.
Worse, if we shift that window 3 days, so we're looking at the 27th of May to the 25th of June, the day before the positive counterbomb, you lose 2 negative, 3 negative, and 3 negative, which is 8. In the days that replace those when the window moves, you got 4 negative, 1 negative, and 3 negative. which is also 8. But in those 3 days you lose from the Windows shift, you lose 2, 3, and 7 positive reviews, which is 12. And it's replaced by days where you got 2, 2, and 1, which is 5. A decrease of 7. Advanced maths, I know. Which dumps you down to 123 total, 65 of which are positive, landing you at just below 53% positive. The recent review percentage went down because you got the same number of negatives, but less positives. That ain't a bomb. Let's take a peep at Pirate Software's self-published game. Now that is what a bomb looks like. Fair few of the new ones have barely any.
And you know, that actually does kind of make sense that Pirate Software is directing, because I don't think a lot of people are like, I think people are mad at Pirate Software, but I don't think people are particularly mad at Ludwig. If I'm not mistaken, Ludwig's already said something like that you should support Stop Killing Games. It's a good initiative. Like, he could probably feel weird about it being maybe a friend or someone he knows online that's receiving backlash for it, but like the reality is, there's gonna be very few people that are gonna be anti SKG. Like, it's just a weird position to have. Look at that again. Oops, not this one, but this one. So we just went up another, well, maybe like another 80. Like, such a short span of time. It's crazy. Game is stuck in dev hell for 8 years. Yeah, but most of the thumbs down is earned. I mean, yeah, but they wouldn't suddenly be coming in hard like that. Like, you'd be getting consistent, relatively, you know, whatever. You could see consistent number of downvotes otherwise. I think the more recent, like, big uptick in downvotes is probably in reaction to what's happening, which, how to feel about that in particular. Like, the game is not super related to what's happening, but yeah, it's just consumers, you know, responding negatively to something they don't like. And it is something not to like. It's weird to be so hard against something that's so pro-consumer. You know, but
any playtime, though that can be explained by the game itself, and they just talk about Pirate Software's takes. Maybe he has a legit grievance there, but this isn't off-brand published. Rivals of Aether 2, now apparently some have been deleted, but I cannot find more than 10. I can't even find 10. 10 reviews that are clearly not actually about the game. Now, when you get really bombed, Steam steps in and drops one of these. That hasn't happened here, and you can still take that filter off if you want. Plus, on Rivals, reviews that are just talking about Moldavius are still there. I would suggest that there is zero evidence any kind of bombing happened. Just a minuscule number of annoyed people. Not even enough to change the 30-day negative review quantity until you hit the 26th, which is the day the massive counterbomb happened. And all 6 of those negative reviews are from people who put substantial time into the game and are talking about the game. One guy who's played it for 40 hours went out of his way to say, yeah, he knows about the Pirate Software stuff.
Most of the spin-offs, sad to see Rivals 2 in the state. Rivals 1 lives off of its mod support. Sure. Okay, so yeah, just talking about the game mostly. So it ties with Pirate Software, especially the Pirate Mypole skin. Okay. But there's also many very legitimate reasons to not recommend the game. Yeah, like, so he's basically just like, hey, this isn't about that. I just don't like this game. Like, that's like, yeah, that's something. Hope YouTube doesn't screw you here because of the language used here. Is it really
it annoys him, but this ain't about that. Even though there's content in the game that was used to promote and fundraise for Pirate Software's ferret rescue. I didn't know about that financial connection.
Did this guy get, like, demonetized for making this video or something? Because if he didn't, I wouldn't figure that I would. Although, you know what? I know Moist Critical a few years ago got a video taken down because but it was like, it was showing violent footage, but the violent footage was in a viral video that was also on the same site. So, but yeah, I remember a lot of people got in trouble for showing. But I doubt with this, this is nothing, right? This is just someone talking about a situation.
I checked, and it is absolutely true. If there's anything I'll give Pirate Software a big thumbs up for, it's rescuing animals. But in those reviews, that's the only mention, and one weirdo just pasted the about section. But from all that I've seen, Pirate Software's statement about why he's stepping down doesn't exactly strike me as
attacking all the games we're publishing and trying to mass review bomb them. You can dislike the things I say, but this kind of behavior is unhinged. Learned a lot there, accomplished a lot. Hope they succeed regardless. Love those dudes. Loved working with them. Hope they keep cooking. This is fine. This is a fine response. I mean, yeah, but this is a fine response, assuming that's what happened. But it doesn't seem like it's really something that happened. I think it's just probably an excuse to back away from the project without, I don't know, in a way that doesn't feel. It doesn't feel dramatic, maybe. It's like, there's no drama here. I'm just leaving because I don't want to cause any problems. But like, he doesn't need to say the mass review bombing thing. He could just say, yeah, I feel like my involvement is going to cause a negative reaction to this game that I just don't want that. And that's totally fine, right? That's totally fine. It's just this weird mass review bombing thing. Yeah, the only, and this is a little bit cope because I don't really feel like this is super valid. But if I were to try to, like, what is it, like Steelman or whatever, I would say it's possible that people are just saying it's getting review bombed and then they're reacting by saying, like, oh yeah, we don't want any flack, like people on Twitter or something. Because I think even this guy was kind of talking about is like people might have been saying that, but it doesn't seem like it actually happened. So it's a yeah, whatever, right? Part is just face saving. It does feel like that's more the point. Yeah.
Real or true. And it absolutely stinks of face saving.
Whoa, look at that. I just refreshed. It was at 490, and I was like, I'll just refresh this one. It's at 6. Geez, it's just moving up. We got more in the last. I want to say in the last like 5 minutes, we've gotten more votes coming in than in the like 50 minutes before that. Practically, that's crazy. Very cool. What was going to happen with, but it kind of makes sense, because I think leading up to the 1 million, everyone was like, oh, we got to see. And then now that it's hit the 1 million, people are like, oh, that's cool. And then they're kind of backing away a little bit, which is allowing all this influx of people that are like, actually, I want to vote for it. Like, hey, it's about to hit 1 million. I want to vote for it. All these people that are just watching, but aren't actually voting. I think some of those people are probably losing interest as, oh, it's 1 million. And then now new people are able to come in and we see this flood in of votes, which is actually kind of awesome. Wondering what was going to happen with Off-Brand given Ludwig's support of SKG. Yeah, it feels a little strange, but yeah, it feels a little strange that Pirate Software is like on his own in terms of all this stuff. Like, there's not really like other creators that hang out with him or that are fine with him at least. I don't think almost any of them are like anti-SKG. It's a weird position. Like, it's a weird position to take.
Fear of what might happen in the future rather than anything that really has.
It's probably okay to still be friends with someone you just disagree with things on, right? Like, although this is a position that it's like a pain, right? Especially if viewers are coming in and like, hey, you work with this person. Like, if there's a ton of chatters who are like flooding in, like, hey, what's your position on this situation? It's like, yeah, this site went down. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was still up. It was just like slow. Am I crazy? Like, I've been refreshing. I've been around the whole time and just like whenever, like every once in a while, refreshing a page just to see how the number is adjusted. And although it does take a while, like I've been able to see it the whole time. So does that mean like is the term down still correct, or is slow an okay word for that? Or yeah, I'm not sure.
Little bit.
Either way, I've gotten to see in pretty real time the big upswing.
MCA claim. Feel free to prove me wrong, but I did my usual digging and didn't find shit. He did say trying to mass review bomb them, so maybe there's evidence of a terrible plot. But be forewarned that some screenshot
trying. I feel like if anybody could stop a game from being mass review bombed, it would have been Gearbox, right? It would have been Take-Two. I don't know if people are all trying to mass review bombing and then through sheer force of will and access to influence, like anyone in the YouTube sphere is going to be able to stop that if Gearbox can't. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, there have been things like I remember with Netflix, right? Like Netflix used to have ratings, and if people got review bombed for just not being likable, then those people could actually go to Netflix and like try to stop it from happening. But in terms of Steam, if Gearbox can't do it, I don't know about all this.
Dipshit in Discord isn't going to cut it for me, especially when they aren't.
When it says error 404, page not found. Huh. Well, I mean, yeah, look here. Are you trying to like? I forget. Are you trying? Well, I think someone else was saying they were trying to go and sign. But well, hopefully it gets fixed so everyone can sign who wants to, who hasn't gotten a chance to yet.
Competent enough to even hit your free demos. You don't quit your passion job over that. Maybe he should focus more on something he's good at, being a sacrificial lamb. Blows himself up fighting SKG, signatures go through the roof. Gets hated on a little bit in a tiny dusting of negative.
I'm not familiar with the overdrive and what it means. So the idea here is that a certain amount of people might have like mass sent in signatures without actually being an individual person, right? Like there could be fake signatures. Of course, there's definitely a lot of real support for this. But then, that stuff can always happen, right? It can always happen, especially if it's just like in a web page, we're just sending something in. It's very possible someone could set up a bot or something. So as a result, or in response to that, to make sure we're still good, as many people signing even after the million is an important thing. One, yeah, it'll show that there really is a massive amount of support for this, but also too, just to make sure that once everything is counted up and it's validated or whatever, that we get to get this in front of legislation, because without that would imagine they do a count and they're like, actually you hit 995,000, so legislation, I guess not, oopsies. That would be just the nightmare. So yeah, we got to make sure it passes through. That's the point of overdrive. Get it as high as possible just to make sure we don't run into that situation. And it's, I mean, holy cow, this is awesome. If this can actually obviously everyone wants to see that happen. Wants to see this actually get in front of legislation, get some real changes done, because it's just a mess. I mean, I feel like I've talked about this a lot over a span of time, but especially just the idea of buying a game and then just having no rights to it. It's just crazy. It's just like so ridiculous of an idea. And people defending that, I don't think there's a lot of people defending that. I don't think a lot of people would feel that way. It's one of those things with the Borderlands situation where it was like, yeah, there's people who are like, they don't like misinformation being spread about, let's say, spyware or any of this stuff. But everyone, like, whether you're like saying like, hey, don't spread misinformation, like this is wrong, or you're saying like, hey, this stuff is spyware, or you're somewhere like you're in the middle more where I'm at, which is like they shouldn't be able, like companies shouldn't be able to change their privacy policies. Companies shouldn't be able to take away access to a game or to demand you to sign something in order to play a game after you already paid for it that you didn't have to before that. Like any of that stuff. Like I feel like all these people unanimously, everyone's like, yeah, it is bad that companies can just take rights away to even play the game in the first place that you already paid for. Like that for sure is wrong. We should all agree on that. So yeah, like I do feel like there is huge support for this, and that it will keep getting pushed. But so like the idea of this not getting in front of legislation would be really sad. And even like I would say a week ago, I really, when I made the Borderlands video, right, when I was really talking about this stuff at that time and thinking about it a lot, I was like, hey, even if this doesn't get passed, there's a lot of support for this. I know that people feel this way. We just like there definitely is a way. There must be a way to get people to rally behind a change like this. It has to be able to happen. But now it has. I mean, in a way, like this is even more evidence of that, which is just so cool. Anyway, okay, I'm rambling about it a lot, but I am. It's exciting, right? It was something that was just not going to happen like a week and a half ago. after 10 plus, like after a year of people pushing for it, and before that, so many years before that, people have been trying to get something like this going because we've like consumers have been losing in this area for such a long time, and I think it's becoming more and more normalized. And at some point, like with my comments on Borderlands, people were responding like, well, this is just how it is. Like, this has been this way for such a long time. And so like every company's doing this. Like, yeah, if you got a problem with this, why don't you just go live in the forest or whatever? Why don't you just not use the internet anymore, not use electricity, right? Like, there's no way to avoid it. And it's like, hey, I agree. That's a problem. That's not good. Anyway, so it's really cool. This is really cool. Things. Let's see. I mean, has to reach 1.4 million. It has to like this is like sort of an estimation of like, here's where we know for sure we should be safe. But like it has to reach a point where whatever signatures are counted, where it will be over 1 million. And the 1.4 is like, hey, if we can get there, amazing. If we can get 1.2, if we can get 1.3, 1.1, whatever it is, just get there, because we've got until the end of July to try to make sure it happens, right? Moist to say that it needs overdrive as well. Yeah, and I hope he does, right? I think Moist talking about it would be great. I think PewDiePie talking about it more would be great. I think Jacksepticeye talked about it on his second channel, and it got a ton of views, a ton. So it absolutely, like, people are passionate, people are behind it, and I mean, once those people talk about it, then everyone's talking about it, right? These are the staples of YouTube. These are in terms of online communication. I think even like Elon Musk shared it or whatever, right? Like. Or repost it or something like that. I think you repost like everything, but still, like to have, I think it's going to reach all kinds of places that normally you don't even associate with it. Just because it's so pro-consumer, and it's like if people are talking about it that much, people are going to want to jump in on that. Yeah, should be. Stop it because it is 1 million, doesn't reach it. Yeah, I know. Need Moist to say that it needs overdrive as well. Where people think that because the petition passes, new laws are going to be made. True. I think for me personally, the way I'm looking at it is more, if consumers put this in front of legislation, if there is a big show of like, hey, we want this, and a lot of people sign it, like going out of your way to actually sign and like, push in this kind of a way to get informed on a topic that much and to be so passionate about it is a little different from like, it's actually very different in my opinion, from even boycotting and of course from just having a negative sentiment. There's a lot of people have a negative sentiment, and that's it. But the idea of being a part of something that seeks to make a change somewhere, like you're becoming sort of an activist in a way that is efficient. That's not just like, I'm mad and I'm going to rant about it, but it's like, hey, here's the thing that can happen. Here's the thing that can change that. So personally, I feel like even just this getting to the point where it is a big step forward compared to a few years ago, or like within the last like 20, 30 years even, where this has just been allowed to slip without consumer awareness and communication. In my opinion, obviously, there's like this doomer. You could have the doomer position where you say like, okay, well, then it goes in front of legislation and they say bah humbug or whatever, they pass it along, and then everyone just gives up, right? And then everything is bad forever, and now we all cry. Like that's. But I do feel like there's like ways to look at anything like that. You can always be kind of negative, but I do feel like this is a not to say that's what you're saying. I'm just saying I do think that this is an important thing, an important step in the right direction that I don't think really has happened before. Because my understanding is that this isn't the first time, certainly not the first time that Ross has tried pushing in this direction, and it just has never picked up steam in this kind of a way. So that's how I would look at it, right? These laws are going to be made. It's not what the petition does. Yeah, exactly. It sort of starts a conversation in a real way, like within legislation, rather than just like people online having a sentiment and then corporations just continue to do what they do. But like, it doesn't mean that they're like just this passing doesn't mean that the changes are going to be made. Certainly, when it's Safari and Chrome through my phone. Although I would point as well to the fact of like how, hold on, let me refresh this page. Like how the EU compared to other countries, the EU has been able to get things passed. They're even in their failures, I think the EU has done more than other countries have done around consumer rights, like things like the Activision Blizzard merger, or no, it was Microsoft Activision. That was the real big one, because Activision Blizzard, like, yeah, it's crazy for a big gaming company to buy another big gaming company or merge another big gaming company. There's this massive conglomerate, but Microsoft owns the computers that all this stuff is run on. Like, that whole situation was so messy. And so like you look at that and it's like, yeah, that got passed, but the EU was like the last bastion. It was like the US and the EU. The US drops out after a short span of time. Like it goes in front of a judge and they're like, who cares? Like, it's corporations, they can do what they want. And then, to oversimplifying. But then in the EU, yeah, they had a whole delay, which I think there were plans to buy more things that they didn't do because they were concerned. They were concerned that it might not pass or whatever. And so like the delay actually, I think, had some substantive impact, even if it didn't stop them outright. That's a spot where like the whole, like, I'm still like, that sucks, right? Of course, that's not good that those big mergers can happen in the first place, but still, the EU was like sort of the last bastion. And then you look at the iPhone cable situation, where USB-C has been able to be sort of universalized across like phones, across iPhones and everything. That Apple as a corporation is it's about as big as you get. And so like being able to push them a little bit, being able to just do a little bit of like, hey, what you're doing here is anti-consumer and it's wrong, and so we put it in front of legislation and they say, yeah, this is wrong. You have to have a universal court here. And then because of that, it doesn't even go to the courts in the US. They just say, okay, we're just going to universalize it, save us the headache of legislation. Is my understanding, okay? But still, like that's a pretty big case of consumer rights being pushed. So if somewhere can do it, I really do think it's the EU. Already signed, but I want to see the success. But yeah, the page is saying weird stuff. Interesting. Makes much sense. This is one of the few things that has been given me hope as of late. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely what I point to when people are like, yeah, this is just how it is, or yeah, like you just have to shift to this or that thing. Like, you do the best you can. It's like, well, those are all valid. Like when people talk about using Linux or maybe not agreeing to certain things, or using GOG or any of these things, it's like, yeah, like these are all for personal protection and for the safety of your own data and information and identity. Like, sure, these are all great things. Like if that's the route that you're going to take it, I can respect that. But also, like, it's not as though it's a done deal. Like, time still moves on, people still exist, corporations are still doing what they're doing, they're still trying to push more, and consumers can still try to push back. And here's this sort of prime example. So I agree, it's like, it is this shining star of hope. I want the crew back so badly. Sure, you can play it on PC, do those intelligent people that pry themselves into the servers, or however you call it. Console person, so rip. But yeah, I hear that, because yeah, there's those people who are gonna do the extra steps to try to make things happen. But it's wrong that, like, yeah, you have to become a tech genius or whatever in order to play the game that you already paid for. Like, that sucks. Hope this comes forward, that it'll save the future of games. Yeah, right. I'm hopeful that this will save RD2, because I love that game, but it definitely be sunset in the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah, like, yeah, how fast things can change, but like, you got to look at it long term, right? Like things going in the right direction in the long run could there's like the total worlds of difference, you know. Not to like be I don't know, extreme about it, but like, you know, the sort of idea of like utopia versus like dystopia kind of thing almost. Like you imagine like a anyway, a dystopian world. But really, like, yeah, it's good to try to keep things on track, and this stuff takes time, yeah. But if you don't do it now, like, yeah, will it ever be done? There's a hint of potential fear mongering there, but it's more like, to be kind of realistic about it, if you don't do it, it won't get done. Like, that's, I think, more of a fair way of saying it. Like, maybe it would get done if it wasn't done now, but it certainly helps to do something, you know. Is real activism. Yeah, by comparison to just sentiment, for sure. And like, I can feel for people who have like just a sentiment, because like how much power do you really have as an individual, as a consumer, right? Of course, like there's an extent there, but at the same time, like the only people who have the power to get this stuff pushing, to really voice their opinion and to get it in front of legislation are consumers. So like it's this, yeah, like your vote matters or whatever, like that kind of idea. Like it is true, but of course, yeah, people are going to feel taken advantage of because that's what these companies are doing, right? Why Ross said the easy win thing. Yeah, and I've gone around the easy win thing. Like, I do think there's an element to it there that exists, but also I think the presentation of saying, like, it's an easy win for politicians, it's a little more complicated than that, because politicians, on the flip side, they have an incentive to work with corporations. Yeah, there's a lot of money moving around, and there's a lot of, like again, with the Activision Blizzard thing, there's a lot of power involved there. That is also very real. Like, it's very real that consumers do have a strong feeling about this, and that you could get a win with consumers, but it's also very real that there's a lot of play. That's the only, but like, I don't think it's even a wrong point to say. I just think, well, you know, and again, I don't want to like reiterate that a ton, but I do think there's some validity being like, I don't know if I like how that's worded. I think even Ross was like, I don't know if I love how I worded everything, but you know, I'm doing the best that I can, and I respect that. Really is an easy win for the politician, literally on a silver platter. Yeah, and I can see that side of the argument, and like to an extent, that's true. I'd love PewDiePie to make a video too about it, but I kind of understand if he doesn't have time to, knowing he's got a family and activities to do. Yeah, PewDiePie's. Oh, I think PewDiePie's like kind of in that, like he's kind of in that retirement era of like he'll just do whatever it is that he really cares to do, and he thinks he's really going to enjoy doing. Will be meaningful or fulfilling, and I think that's fair, right? Like he's kind of. Yeah, he's kind of retired from YouTube to a certain extent. I mean, like you see how many views he still gets when he does decide to talk about these sorts of things. And it's, I mean, yeah, the last video that he put out, I really loved. I know there's certain people that really have a problem with PewDiePie. Maybe I should research that and look into it a little bit. I watched him when I was younger and everything. I think a lot of people did. I mean, he was massive, of course. But yeah, like regardless of any kind of issues people might have with him, I think that video that he did recently on kind of personal privacy and all that, like I think that's really quite cool, because it's about this. It's about corporate overreach, and yeah, it's good to see. Pirate killed the movement. Next day, huh? Right, exactly. Imagine a lot of games come because they don't want to release after the new law is made. Come out because they don't want to release after the new law is made. Well, oh yeah, like I guess that's a kind of an interesting point. Like, what if something is currently in production? Because always the point has been like, this is only going to affect new games that come out. It's not going to affect. And now, I think personally, like I mentioned earlier, like the long term is what you have to really be concerned with. Is like, how is this going to impact things in the long term? How is this going to change things? And how does it need to be set up to work as well as possible for devs and for consumers? So that it doesn't like, yeah, kill any games. Well, that's the whole point, right? It doesn't kill any games one way or the other. So, but when it comes to the short term, yeah, there's going to be an adjustment period. I would figure, assuming everything passes, and you know, that's anyway. Watching Pirate descend into madness is so sad to me because he was doing a lot of good in getting people into game dev. I was watching a lot of his streams and made my first game in his game jams. Nice. Yeah. Well, you know, yeah. You can only kind of hope the best for people in terms of like. I would be totally fine with Pirate moving on from this and like improving or just not touching this stuff in the future and still trying to have a positive impact. Because you can have like a bad take or whatever, and you can handle a situation really poorly and still do good things for people. Like yeah, there's a lot of good that can be done by encouraging people with game dev, by encouraging people to get out there and do different things. But there's also, yeah, there's like some kind of messy sides of it like this that are just not super necessary. So yeah, you hope for the best, but there's billions of people in the world. Okay, like if it's not Pirate Software, it's going to be somebody. There's a lot of really passionate people when it comes to game dev, a lot of indie devs out there who know a whole lot about this stuff and are very passionate about it and are always looking to learn more and share that knowledge. So you know, people shouldn't trust them anymore. I think around topics like this, I would agree. But I think like if you were, yeah, and this is a messy thing as well, is like comparing this against something like crypto scamming, for example. Mr. Beast is crypto scammed, like definitively, right? Like we kind of know that, right? Mr. Beast is a massive creator who has like a ton of viewership and does good things, but also like he's a crypto scammer. He's a scumbag, just like the rest of them, you know? And so that's kind of a hard thing to, it's a hard thing to mesh. How do you, or speed, or like a lot of these really big creators who have done these things, and it's like, yeah, like how do you end up feeling about that? I think I would still say like, there's two universes. There's one where they never really do anything good for people, but they still find a way to sort of stay on top. Like there's the possibility of them staying on top. and continuing to kind of be the way they are and find ways to crypto scam people here and there and make a little extra, few extra mil, you know. And then there's the other universe where they stop doing those things. Like that's the better option. So it's also possible they fall out of favor entirely. That's why I mentioned, like, maybe it's okay. Like, maybe Pirate Software does sort of fall off over time, and we get some other big indie dev who's a little bit less self-interested, or a little bit less egotistical, or stuck in their ways, or whatever. Like any of these kinds of, like, however you want to see the situation. Like that's I think that's probably the best outcome. But if Pirate Software is going to be at the top, I hope that he learns from this and is more careful and more just like, you know, this is also like, this is a better outcome than the outcome where he just continues to stay on the top and then also like continues to like push against consumer rights or whatever, right? Or to do things like haphazardly or whatever. Same with Mr. Beast, same with Logan Paul even, or like some of these other people where I'm like, yeah, these guys are awful, but it's like, yeah, I'd rather they do the right thing. Is that so controversial? You know what I mean? Hard to categorize people who do good and bad. It's a gray area. Yeah. Like, you can't like absolutely say, but I do think this crypto scamming stuff is just so bad to me, because it's like, you've already won, you know? Like, if you're Mr. Beast, or like if you're in a position where you can crypto scam, like where you're so big, you're probably already a millionaire. You've already won at life. Like, why do you need this too? Like, why do you need to do something so? Yeah, that I think at that point, that the point at which someone crypto scams is the point at which I'm just like, I don't know if I care. Like, I just don't know if I care what else you do. It's just so like blatantly wrong and requires you to already be a massive channel for it to succeed. It's like, like you have everything. Where with Pirate, it's like, you were wrong about something, you were egotistical enough to not know how to kind of address it and to be open about it, or to just be like, hey, I was wrong on these things, but I still feel this way about this stuff, and here's my argument. Like, because that's totally valid, you know? Like, even if you disagree with him, that's a valid approach. And disagreeing with people is okay. It's not okay to be wrong and harm something like this, and not just be like, hey, here's where I was wrong. You know, make your arguments all you want. Anyway, Little Helper, hey, how you doing? Welcome. We're kind of rambling here a little bit, but look at that, we're another 1,000 some odd. I'll refresh that one as well. But like, yeah, wait, actually, I refreshed that a while ago. 1,905 over the million mark. That's nuts. All right. Okay, I'm rambling a lot. Let's see. Hard to categorize people looking at, but I hear you 100%. Hard. Discord is oblivious. This is past. Are they really? I haven't gone into that. You know, I'm not like, I don't feel like I mean, I don't feel like I'm a hater or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I'm out for blood or whatever. I just, there are things that he's done that I find really irritating, and approaches that he's had with it. But like, you know, that's most of what it is for me. And then I hope to see the best, of course. Just need a big buffer on top of the million to account for entries that may get invalidated. Yeah, exactly. Little Helper, welcome. Yes, 100%. And it is. We'll see how that manages. But it's crazy to hit the million. You know, like that. The difference between, again, I'll repeat it a million times over, because I love it. Over 9,000, literally. Yeah, exactly. But I love to see that it went from this in the span of like a week. You know, that's just gonna be. It's just still going to be stuck in my head, is like, because I covered it 10 months ago. I went through like 3 different videos. I watched Asmongold talk about it. I watched Pirate Software talk about it. I watched Ross talk about it. I watched Ross's FAQ over it. Like, looking through all these things, and it's like, oh, that's like, this is like, it's that, seeing all that happen, and then seeing just the initiative just stop dead in its tracks basically for such a long time, was like, this is such a cool, important thing. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of disheartening, but it was also like, at least something's being done. Like, okay, this is why books like 1984 or Brave New World, or like any of these dystopian books are kind of important. Is like, there's this concept that's really central to them, which is like, if someone's still fighting for something, if we're still talking about it, if we're still, it means that there's a chance, right? There's always sort of a chance if there's someone still trying to make change. And it's super easy to get doomer about this stuff. So yeah, it's cool to see. To get the extra signatures that are needed. I think there's and not to say like we're not in the position of 1984, we're not in the position of some of these things, but when it comes to corporations and consumer rights, there definitely is this feeling, and things. I mean, not to get into it, but there's things like the health insurance industry or whatever, right? Like, all these different areas where it's like consumers are really it's really easy to feel kind of yanked around and wailed every which way, and like you don't really have any say, and so like something like this is just, yeah. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. And yeah, even if it never got passed, it would have still been an amazing thing that people tried to put together, that people pushed for. But I mean, look at it. Like, there's like, this is crazy. I'm just throwing it out there. It's crazy. All right. Okay, let's continue the video before I ramble myself to death.
Reviews. Positive
Let me stop the music as well. Okay.
reviews go through the roof.
I kind of wonder how this guy's gonna end this off. Like this first part, I was pretty impressed though. Like generally speaking, when it comes to what is it, harmful opinions, I'm a little bit like, it feels like so far a lot of I've watched some videos where it just felt like he's just kind of exaggerating and just trying to get views or whatever. But like this I feel like is well researched, and I respect it. I respect the approach to this video for the most part. So
The game gets
I'm curious how he kind of ends it
on
off.
a nice 30% sale. Maybe I'll pick it up. Don't have much time, but I loved the first one. Oh, the video was gonna end here, but stop the press. Piratesoftware has given an update, I just noticed. For those trying to say this is now somehow a lie.
If second overdrive happens, this is rigged for real. Yeah, right. It's like, you thought that was my final form, right? We get another like up to 1.8 million or up to 2 million. It would be crazy to hit 2 million, but like you know, this is all just for the memes a little bit when it comes to that. Like this, hitting the 1.4, there might be some real points to that. Because of the potential for fake signatures and everything like that. But it's crazy. This is crazy. For it to get this far. Since the pandemic hit the world, there's been the gradual eradication of cash on hand and money shifting to cards in their entirety. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can definitely, like, when exactly that shift majorly happened, I would say, yeah, there's certain things got pushed further faster, just in general, like a lot of things did when it came to the pandemic. But I would say before that even, like, yeah, there's like the shift of everything just being a number and not being actual cash is for sure a big thing. A third health bar, yeah, exactly.
Hi.
For those trying to say this is somehow a lie, the abuse was across socials, people on Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and some reviews on Steam. Okay, so like this post is kind of saying it's not really about the reviews on Steam. It's about Discord, Twitter, Reddit. It's like just hate kind of flooding in. Yeah, and I can kind of see this. You'd have to find some evidence of it potentially, but I guess whatever. Indie games are fragile things, but like, yeah, like totally sure. Indie games are fragile things, and attacks like that hit hard. Overall sentiment was to bash the games and the developers working on them. Yeah. This is the same exact kind of complaint with Piratesoftware that I might have had, that I did have 10 months ago, which is that like I 100%, I don't want to invalidate this at all. This idea of like, yeah, there's consumers out there who are just wild, or like I guess chatters and people in communities can get really wild. I know, and I had them come into my stream, who were spreading stuff from websites that I don't really want to talk about particularly, but like websites that are just very vindictive and awful. Without needing any evidence, they're just looking for someone to burn. So like I 100% agree that there are people out there that are really crazy like that, but at the same time, like there always are. I don't know that I don't think that validates like some of the response that Pirate has had, but like yeah, like so like that'd be kind of my complaint of it is like well, I will not invalidate that because I know it exists. I've seen it myself. I know it. At the same time, it's like that doesn't justify some of this. It doesn't justify like the just like never admitting any wrong. Like. Anyway, made that bar though. Let's see. This bar from the EU. Hold on. Third health bar happened a decade ago for Australia. Is this bar from the EU legal site embed, or is it just a personal made and they need extra, so they made the UI? The EU legal site. I think in terms of this, they're just collecting. Let's see. I think this is just like on their website. They're like sort of displaying what they've gotten so far. I think all that then is probably submitted separately. I doubt this is a direct one-to-one link. But I don't know. I don't know how it works on the back end. Let's see. Refresh it in there. Okay. Let's duplicate this tab just in case. Okay. You come back into here. Okay. Embrace cashless. Let's see. Who made that bar though? We embraced cashless so much faster than anywhere else. Fair. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are probably cash can be kind of a pain, I guess. Like there's some things that are kind of nice about cash, but it's also like using a card instead, not having to carry certain things around. I can kind of understand. And then there's also this strong desire to shift over. This is like the Apple Pay thing has always just been kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. But this is like there's a desire to be able to just have your phone. You like remove the wallet entirely, one less thing. Like it is nice. There's for sure an advantage to that. It just kind of sucks. It just kind of sucks. Like at the same time, the idea of someone like Apple being your like they have everything. They have all my data, all my information, all of everything. They want my credit card too. They want my debit card too. They want to store it for me. Oh, you could just have them have everything. It just feels a little weird. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, obviously convenience is nice. Comes at the cost of security. Convenience comes at the cost of security. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, which is frustrating, right? Because there's a certain point where it's like, okay, we've normalized it so that like these specific companies where we're giving them all this convenience can have it. Therefore, now every other company can also have that. It's like, yeah, like like with the Borderlands stuff, it's like they're doing all these things. Like, well, don't you know that Apple does the same thing? And it's like, like people are allowing Apple to do that because they want this certain convenience. What is Borderlands offering me? They don't offer me any of this stuff. Like, come on. But also like, and I don't even like the stuff from Apple. But still, it's like this is just it's not one-to-one at all. You know. That stuff is kind of frustrating. COVID raised the question of how much cash has run through how many hands and how much of said cash may be contaminated for the results, I guess. Yeah. Well, there is like, the idea, I remember there was an argument with cashless society, not to get overly into it, but there was an argument of like, it would reduce some of the like maybe money laundering because everything would be coming from one source to another source. Like instead of it being like when it's done through cash, there's a lot of under the table stuff going on with cash. There always has been to avoid having to pay taxes on things. Like that, I mean, that argument is like kind of whatever though. Like, but okay, sure. Maybe that exists. I just don't know how much of a major issue that is. It's like, that's just like a part of the system, but to crack down on that, like, I don't think that's something that for the most part, I don't think paying under the table is something that massively is benefiting, like major corporations as much as it is benefiting like small businesses and like individuals who are already low income. For the most part, I think that's really where the cash-based system exists. So it does feel like we're kind of nickel and diming people that are already getting paid in nickel and dimes, right? Practically. But, maybe that's an uninformed opinion a little bit. There may be more validity to the argument than I'm giving it credit. More people got debit card. I was thinking more of people who got their debit card skimmed because they're careless at a bar while drunk. Interesting. Got their debit cards. Yeah, the concern of, but the Apple thing is also true. Yeah. Well, because I think of Apple when it comes to like this conversation, just because it's like, because I think of the Borderlands conversation when it comes to like what data they can have and use and how they can store it and so on. And then with this, we're talking, I mean, the connection there is a little looser because we're talking about, but anyway, I'm rambling in directions. We're talking about the way that corporations in the gaming sphere are able to like stop giving you service, stop giving you access to games you paid for. That I'm linking to the ability for those same game devs to change their policies retroactively and require more data than you originally agreed to, or else you can't use the thing you already paid for. And then we're connecting that to the Apple thing. Anyway.
The abuse was across socials, people on
I wonder kind of how he ends this off though.
Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and some reviews on Steam. Oh, so it wasn't review bombed. Abuse and whatever, sure. Horrible. That ain't all you said though. Indie games are fragile things, and attacks like that hit hard. Overall sentiment.
Okay, because this is like that first part. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to invalidate that at all. Like that's 100% true. I don't think that justifies everything, but that's absolutely true. But then he sort of then this harmful opinions is sort of okay. That part's fine. So we agree on that. Indie games are fragile things, and attacks like that hit hard.
Was to bash the games. Very different to people actually review bombing it or trying to review bomb it, as you said. That didn't happen. You said it did. What's that called? People were trying to review bomb it? How do you review bomb? You get the game, run it for a bit, leave a review. If you want to be really nasty, I think you can refund. Maybe they plugged that up though. People were trying to do that, but what? They couldn't find the store page? They went to pay and
they couldn't find the comment button. Yeah, like I agree. This part is a little silly. Like this is what I was saying earlier. When it first brought it up, I was like, what do you mean trying to review bomb? How can Gearbox not stop you? But gosh dang, Thor can or whatever. Pirate Software can stop you from review bombing. They tried though. They tried. They really tried.
I don't have $20 or
That's
whatever.
such a funny thing
Did not happen. And the sentiment was also to bash the developers working on them to try to get back at you. That's horrible. Too bad you also said other things. Saying thing B and that being legit doesn't erase bullshit A you spoke. He did this with the Stop Killing Games stuff, remember? Hey, I didn't lie. Here are the things I said that are true. Ignoring the thing people are saying is a lie.
Right.
And this time something more's happened. A review bomb has morphed into people bashing it on other platforms and there being some reviews. You threw out a heavy accusation of a very specific kind of conduct. Ludwig did as well, but that's not your fault. And Off-Brand, and a game they published, has reaped the rewards. The uptick in positive...
Yeah, this is a little harder to... and this is why I mentioned before, it's a little harder to defend, a lot harder to defend. I don't think I would defend this, because it does seem like outright like a lie. So, like, the thing I defended before would be saying, like, this initiative is going to do all these sort of bad things. And I don't like that it's doing this, and then like here's the result of this, and then you're not wording it right here, and so like it needs kind of more time in the cooker. Like that's all. I can defend that, even though a lot of the points are wrong about what the initiative is doing and saying, because at the time he might have believed that they were right, and then later on, like I can defend that at the moment, and then later on when he talks about them again, he says some of the, well, way later on now, he says some things that are different from the original things he said. He hammers in on points, Pirate Software hammers in on points that are more accurate or more reasonable, while ignoring points that were less reasonable that he made, and then saying, I still believe the things that I said before. And I can kind of defend that, kind of, even though I think it's a little bit, more sketchy, because I can say, like, okay, he's still, like, what he's saying now is more accurate. He has adjusted his tone and his approach. And like, even though I think it'd be better, I think it'd be a lot better to say, like, hey, here's where I was wrong before. I still don't think, like, now that he knows more accurately what's going on, he's not saying the same things anymore. Like, that does mean that, like, to me, that implies that at least now he's not lying, because he's saying things that are seemingly more accurate or accurate. And then at the time, he might not have been lying. There's no way to know for sure. He might not have been lying because he could have just believed those things at the time. Like, this is pretty consistent for me. But this thing about review bombing is, like, when you say I'm not, like, people are trying to review bomb, and then, like, the day later, you're kind of shifting over. It's not about review bombing. What it's really about is about people having negative sentiment about the whole thing, and then spreading that around. It's like, okay, well, do you not know what review bombing? Like you can convince me that he doesn't know how initiatives work in the UK versus in the US. Like, yeah, I could probably believe that. It seems like he didn't know, because he said things that were just inaccurate, that seemed more accurate to something maybe in the US than they do in the UK, where in the US it's sort of like a nonsense petition to a certain extent, because it's not really how we get things into law. And we just don't have the same systems. Like things like precedents or whatever are different here versus in the UK, where it's not exactly, apparently it's like precedents they use in the same way anyway. Anyway, like I can believe that he didn't know enough about the topic there. That's fine. Like with review bombing, I know what review bombing is. That's where you send a bunch of negative reviews. Like, that's where a ton of negative reviews are flooding in. I don't know what it's just weird. Yeah, this feels a little bit less, like, I can't really patch together, okay, here's the order of how that could have happened. And right now as well, like, at the time, I could see him being pretty reckless with the whole thing, because he's like, I disagree with it, and then I'm just going to say my piece, and then we kind of move on, and people are, like, disagreeing with me, and now I'm going to argue with them and say my piece again and double down on it. Like, I can see that happening. But for this, it's like, this has been, like, following him. Like, this something that he's dropping out of another company that he worked with. He's not going to be careless with his language now. It doesn't make sense. Why would you? I think he's being intentional with his language now, because it's like, yeah, you're losing a lot of reputation from this, and you're having to drop out of a company for this. Like, you got to be more careful now. Surely he's being more careful now. So when he says now that, like, people are trying to review bomb, I feel like he knows what the implication is. U.S. citizens do have the right to petition for redress. It's in the First Amendment, but it's not used very often. Fair. Yeah, I understand that it's different in the U.S., I guess is what I should have said. And maybe I misworded that. But, like, yeah, my take on that would just generally be, at the time, I know that he was very much like, that's not how this works, that's not how this works, or whatever, or like, this is how this works. And people in response were like, well, no, in the UK it works differently from that. And then he didn't ever go back and say, like, yeah, I guess I was wrong on these things. And then, yeah, generally in the U.S., I understand petitions to be more just like we're petitioning to get Sam Pepper kicked off YouTube. It's like, what is that? I remember that was a big thing, but there were a lot of petitions like that in earlier YouTube. And Sam Pepper sucked. Like, sentiment was fair, but, like, it's not like this. This is a totally different thing. So if you're coming into it with that understanding of petitions, you're going to be like, okay, like, who cares? This is just people crying on the internet. Where this is not. This is something real. So yeah, the difference could make sense to me that he wouldn't understand it as an American, because certainly from my perspective as an American, whatever, or like as someone who'd seen petitions in the past, that's what I understand them to be up until this, right?
Reviews that Rivals of Aether has been enjoying to this day is not because people were being mean on Reddit, it's because they were told the game got review bombed. Did it? Because you've repeated that, your sacrifice is somewhat in vain. Your stink's still attached. It's going to smell like you for a while.
So we got to talk about Stop Killing.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so
I am
I don't know if I love, like, I guess the ending there. The only part I might kind of push back against is, like, and I'm not like, okay, I like Ludwig well enough. Okay, maybe I'm just being influenced by that, but also I think even within this video there was a point where he shows, like, a screenshot of a tweet from Ludwig where Ludwig is like, what wasn't this? There was another point where Ludwig says something about, like, yeah, you should, like, Stop Killing Games is a good initiative. It just sucks that this is happening with this other person. And it's like, is he wrong? Does it stink of Pirate Software? I guess just because, yeah, he's not wrong about he's not wrong about that there's going to be this sort of negative connotation with them with Rivals of Aether, that he was even a part of it, because he kind of, like, yeah, because Pirate Software kind of really dropped the ball, to say it lightly. But, like, when it comes to wait, hold on, let me when it comes to like I guess not Ludwig, but I guess maybe more to say Rivals of Aether in general, I understand Ludwig to be more of the center, like the big guy when it comes to Rivals of Aether. I don't think Pirate Software was as tied to it as Ludwig. And Ludwig is, to my understanding, in favor of Stop Killing Games. So like it feels more like it should be a split away. There is going to be some sentiment, but I just don't know. Yeah, I guess personally, my hope wouldn't be for that to be the outcome, because I don't think the game or the devs who work on it have much to do with Pirate Software. And but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was much more active on that game than I'm figuring. But even the people that really are like anti-Pirate Software, I don't think any of them would be like, oh yeah, he was a really actively working dev. Like all those people think he's like a, he's a slouch who just attaches his name to things and gets all the credit, right? That's been a thing. That's part of their argument. So I wouldn't think these same people would then say, yeah, Pirate Software's game that he developed. Like these people aren't going to say that, are they? Really? It's just, in my opinion, like it would be weird for them to say that to me. I think the Pirate was a industry plant. There was an industry plant. I guess it would depend on what you mean by that, but like, no, I wouldn't think so. I figure he's a guy that's dad worked at a big company and then he got to work there, which happens all the time. This happens all the time, which is maybe bad, but it's like, it is the way it works. And then through his experiences with that, and then through, I don't know, whatever else, he's able to start streaming, talk about things, have some relevancy. Like if you come onto streaming and you're chatting about different things, and you can make a short where you claim to have worked at Blizzard for however long, and then people look into it, and yeah, you're the guy that worked at Blizzard, or you can be like, yeah, my dad was in South Park. Like he's this guy that everyone recognizes. Yeah, people are gonna click on that. They're gonna be like, oh wow, this guy is like relevant to like big world. Like this is so much bigger than like your standard streamer. So like, yeah, there's a big advantage to coming from that background. So he got the background because he was born into it, whatever, like that, again, that happens all the time. It sucks. That's the way it works. And then because he was born into that, he now has all this credit on the internet because South Park is the internet. South Park is like such an important keystone of the internet. And then he gets big on YouTube, big on Twitch and whatever. And then that grows into him having a massive reputation. And then he covers this topic. Like, to me, there's no point where I would say industry plant there exactly, because all that makes sense to me. Maybe there's more to it, right? Like he probably also had connections potentially that made it easier for him to get bigger on the platforms, right? By the shorts and the MS Paint, right? Exactly. And but all this stuff flows so naturally that I don't think you need any conspiracy particularly. I'm kind of anti-conspiracy in general. There are times where conspiracies are true, but like when it comes to, like, just in a general sense, I think it's more likely that it's just like that all the steps that do make sense are true, and that there's not necessarily anything more. But again, like when it comes to there being connections, that's also a part that I don't think you don't even need an industry plant for that. You can just say like, yeah, like that's how that works. Connections do, and people say it all the time, and like people with money or whatever, they say like it's about who you know or whatever, right? Just don't think he is a liar is a conspiracy. Everyone's, I mean, like, okay, it'd be a little bit redundant to say everyone's a liar. Maybe I should say, I'm sure that he's lied about certain things. It does feel like this particular thing is a lie. It feels like the earlier things weren't, though, necessarily. Or at least there's a lot of reason to believe the contrary, that it's more like he was wrong and then refuses to back down from it because, and not like, he doesn't refuse to back down from the points that he made exactly. He just won't disagree with them. And then he is refusing to back down from the overall point because it would look so bad. So like, but then like whether he still believes that he's correct, it's called there's one thing that's called like audience capture, which is to my understanding, the idea of audience capture is that you let's say maybe you believe something, then your audience really pushes that thing and then pushes these other beliefs as well that you don't necessarily agree with, but you're like, okay, maybe those things are true because they kind of tie in what I'm saying, and you just go along with it because your audience likes that, and then you just keep going along with it, and eventually they kind of like, then they like, you're going along with it, you're not necessarily like advocating for it, but then they ask you like, hey, how do you feel about this thing? And you're like, yeah, yeah, and then you eventually get so locked into it that you start to actually kind of see the reason of it, because it would really suck to not see the reason of it, because then you would feel hypocritical, you would feel out of place. So you just over time get more and more, you more and more believe the thing that you are claiming, or at least that you're advocating for subtly, until eventually you just outright believe that thing. And so at no point are you technically lying exactly, because you're not outright agreeing with it until you do outright agree with it. At that point you are agreeing with it, but you're not lying at that point because now you agree with it, right? Like until you fully agree with it, you don't necessarily sign on to it until eventually you do agree with it, and then yeah. But it's like if you were coming at it from an honest, like fully backing up, here's what I think perspective from the beginning, you could probably say like, no, I don't agree with that. That's stupid. But eventually, yeah, your audience can kind of pull you in one direction or another to the point where anyway, okay. Like this is what happened to Cover for a Liar. No, I don't agree with you. I do think that this also, what do you mean you're bending over backwards? I feel like this is, and this is exactly kind of the point, is okay. If I know a lot of people are anti pirate software. I think pirate software sucks in this situation. I'm very against what he's doing there, what he's done up to this point and the way that he's handled himself. But audience capture would be me just agreeing with you. That is what that is. I just want you to know that, so that maybe you can understand where I'm coming from. I could just agree with you. That's called audience capture. That's me just saying like, hey, yeah, like totally, yeah, totally, pirate software sucks. And you say like, he's doing all these awful things, and I'm like, yeah, he sucks. But I'm not necessarily saying like he's doing all these things. I'm just not making my points around them. So like, I just kind of allow you to believe what you believe, and then I say, yeah, he sucks, and we kind of agree. We don't really agree. But then over time, if I keep doing that, eventually I start to see your point more and more, because I've like kind of intentionally not disagreed with it, and I'm afraid to disagree with it because then I'll lose you as an audience member. And so I start to kind of shift around my worldview until eventually I just totally agree with you, and I hate pirate software without actually having come to that conclusion myself. I just kind of allow you to push me that way. That to me, that's my understanding of audience capture, and that's something that I think like I remember that's what happened to Tobuscus, right? Tobuscus was a really cool, like likable person, and then got into a lot of bad water, and then a lot of certain people in his community, the people that stuck around, were like, yeah, women suck, and then he was like, yeah, you know what, they do, or whatever, right? Like, or someone like Pirate might have at some point like had a chance to reconsider things, but there's a point where it's like, I can't back off now. I just have to keep going with it. Like it's, yeah, and there's a dishonesty to that, I suppose. But it's also something that definitely does happen. Sometimes without someone actively lying, right? Because like I think there's an annoying thing to me when it comes to this set of conversations that has happened repeatedly, where it's like you kind of want to say liar about things, and it's like, do you know what the definition of lying is? Like, I'm sorry, it's just there are points where it is a lie, but then there's also points where someone like Harmful Opinions might just like say something's a lie without providing evidence to like for example, if someone goes on live TV and says this is what Tucker Carlson did, for example, when he got fired from his big position, was that he went on live TV and said this guy's really smart and I agree with everything that he's doing and saying, and like, oh, you really got to support this thing and whatever. And then behind closed doors in the company, he was sending emails and sending messages saying like, this guy's the dumbest person ever. Like, this guy's awful. I totally disagree with what they're saying. So that ended out with a defamation lawsuit where it's like, yeah, as a public figure, you can say things that are wrong. You can even say things like you can say things that are malicious, or like to a certain extent. But like, if we can provably know that you disagree with what you're saying, and then you come out and say that it's true, that's defamation, right? It wasn't even just that. Those came out. I think those were that wasn't it. Those came out, and that was like kind of like the big like, this sucks, this guy sucks kind of thing. But then there was also he was saying that like the vote counting was all a lie and was wrong. And then behind closed doors in the company was also saying that it was like, no, this is just BS, but whatever, you know. Anyway, and that ended up getting a defamation lawsuit from the company that was doing the vote counting and all that. But yeah, like, where do I go with this? Yeah, like that's a lie. A lie is when you believe something and then you say contrary to that. It's not just when you say something people disagree with. Yeah, it's just such a stupid. It's frustrating to me. It's frustrating. Probably just makes me sad. I would love to return to that community if he shaped up and wasn't. Yeah, right. No, I hear that. Yeah, and it does suck. It does suck because, like, it does suck because it's like I can disagree with someone, but like, oh, man, you got me frustrated here, Will. I'll admit. Just saw the stream unrecommended. Looks like the initiative got 1 million. Yeah, it's got there, and it's let me see here. I refresh it here. But it's definitely over, and it's probably over by a few now. It's probably over by like 1.4, 1.5, yeah, or by 5,000, whatever, right? 5,000, almost 6,000 over. Crazy. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a situation of like, we can disagree on something, but then you think that I'm trying to cover for somebody that I totally disagree with, and that I've very much illustrated my point on. Yeah, definitely not appreciated. But you don't. I'm assuming, like, based on the, like, because it's the same thing as like when you outwardly just sort of call someone like it's saying that someone's bending over backwards to cover for someone is calling them a liar. You understand that, right? But fair enough, you know. Mates would sign, but we're not sure if I'm able to. I'm Aussie, fair enough. But like, okay, you know, I'll let it go when it comes to that. But I just, I don't know. Think about it. Maybe think about it. Mates would sign. We're not sure if I'm able to. I'm Aussie. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it's awesome. It should just be. I think this is just in the EU, and I don't think. Yeah. That'd be a ways out. I don't know if you can do much there. But you can definitely spread around the word and you know, and support it and so on. Like I think that's a big thing. Getting more people to talk about it is a huge thing. I think that's actually something that that pushed it to this point to a pretty big extent, right? Is that big creators talked about it, and then smaller creators were around, and then people in those audiences came in and chatted about it, and got those people to talk about it as well. So like more and more people on the internet, kind of getting pushed to give their take, their position on it. Let's see. I am wordy. Okay. 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 Let's see. Well, I was going to go into these a couple other different things, but everything's going well. Yeah, appreciate everyone popping in. I honestly like. Okay, it's made it. I feel like at this point I might end off here, but we have reached there. We have reached it. We've reached our ultimate goal. I suppose. And then we'll see how it goes from there, right? As being the Beaver Fantastic News. Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for coming in. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this off here. Sayonara. See you next time.